So this is 18 slides showing us how we can vaccinate everyone today. So vaccine supply, there's actually some amazing math with vaccine supply. Doubling the dose provides less than twice the protection. Each additional shot increases protection tenfold. And so what that means is that any vaccine supply can vaccinate every person in the world. So the right questions are, what is the manufacturing capacity? How many people do we want to vaccinate? How many doses will each person require? And I'm going to attempt to answer those for you. So we're going to just do an example here using Moderna. They're making 35 million doses of 100 micrograms. That's 3.5 kilos of vaccine per month. There's 328 million people in the United States. That's 10 micrograms of mRNA 1273, which is the name of the Moderna vaccine, per person per month. Okay, so is that enough? Or how many doses will that take to vaccinate everyone in the country? So we see from Moderna's phase 1 trial, and let me quickly explain what this is. The blue line represents the people who received the placebo. The red line represents the people who have received mRNA 1273. And you can see that at 14 days, those two lines diverge and diverge rapidly. So after 14 days, you get a high degree of efficacy. And what we know from other vaccine trials is that your immune system responds after 14 days. So after 14 days, you have cellular response that is specific to the proteins being produced. And so this is a pretty expected place to get a divergence between a placebo group and someone who's actually received the vaccine. In addition, that 14-day period corresponds to a specific immune response, and you can use something called serobridging to determine what doses will create that immune response. So we saw on the last slide that at 14 days you had 90% protection. Here you see the immune response that corresponds to that 90% protection. You can see at 25 micrograms that you're significantly over that protection. And at 10 micrograms, we've extrapolated down using the relationships that have held both for humans and for animals. And you can see a projected immune response of 242, which is significantly greater than what you saw for 90% efficacy. You will also see here that you got, at 15 days, you got an immune response of 17,000, which is about 10% or 11% of the immune response that Moderna saw in their human convalescent serum, suggesting that it's even possible that you could get significant efficacy at 15 days with a 10 microgram dose. So here we've got Pfizer vaccine data. The Pfizer vaccine is actually a very similar vaccine to Moderna's vaccine. And you'll see also that there's divergence in experience between placebo versus people receiving the vaccine at 14 days. And you also see here that at 22 days, the immune response was about 20% of the human convalescent serum, suggesting that 10% of human convalescent serum is potentially also going to be very effective at preventing COVID disease. So wrapping up, we can vaccinate every American this month with 10 micrograms. More than 90% protection from the disease after 2 doses is almost assured there. And then COVID would be over in 60 days. Now, what to do? Contact your congressperson and governor. This is really a political problem, not a scientific problem or a manufacturing problem. Contact your doctor and ask for a 10 microgram dose. Contact the FDA and ask for a 10 microgram dose. Share this video. This story is not being told. This is a uphill battle that we all need to wage together. So questions and comments, you can follow me and contact me on Twitter at rainfallsdown. Concerns, I want to address some concerns. I certainly can't address them all in the brief period of time. 3 doses are hard to administer. Just some simple math, there's 4 million nurses in the United States. If 2% of nurses vaccinate people, that's 150 people per nurse per day. 30 days in a month, 360 million people in 1 month could be vaccinated. So it's certainly possible. There's 88,000 pharmacies in the country. It certainly seems plausible that we could vaccinate everyone in 1 month. So another serious concern is that people might not want something that hasn't been fully tested. We've got a lot of people who are vaccine hesitant in this country. And so people who want the larger dose that's gone through the full phase 3 trials can certainly get that Pfizer vaccine. You can monitor and report real-world efficacy to help to change people's minds. Safety was already tested on a much larger dose. Smaller doses have fewer side effects, and that may actually cause more people to want to be vaccinated. You can see here from the phase 1 trials that there was significantly fewer side effects at the lower doses. 10 micrograms would be expected to have even fewer. So a great question is, what if 2 shots is not enough? There's always the possibility for a 3rd shot, which will increase protection. Here's data from Moderna's CMV vaccine, where they actually published data showing the impact of a 3rd dose, and you see a very nice boost, just as you would expect. Another question that people might have is, do these doses actually extrapolate? I created that bar for 10 micrograms, or that table for 10 micrograms earlier. Is that real? This data suggests that, yeah, it in fact is real, and that my calculations were actually conservative. So as you extrapolate down, you end up with this situation here at the bottom, where at the very low doses, you actually get a flattening of the curve. There's a minimum immune response level, and that appears to be where we're actually dosing. It is close to that minimum immune response level. You can also see here that if you're worried about getting the vaccine, just think about it this way, that mice, they went up to 20 micrograms. That's the equivalent of more than 60 grams for an adult male. So huge doses. They didn't find any dose-limiting toxicity on the mice. And human dosing of 100 micrograms is right around here. It's at 0.03 micrograms near the left of the tested doses. A lot of people say, hey, let's follow the science. I often hear that from people who haven't actually read the papers. If you want to read the papers, these are a lot of really great ones. It's a great place to start. So here's the Moderna Vaccine papers. You got COVID disease progression papers, a couple papers on understanding vaccines, and then the EUA filings from both Pfizer and Moderna. Great place to start. And this last one, or this one that I want to talk about, is vaccine-enhanced respiratory disease. This is the real concern with safety for vaccines. You can run into worse disease with vaccines. All studies are watched unblinded to look for VERD. It is uncommon but causes studies to be canceled. No human COVID or animal COVID studies have found VERD. The FDA doesn't think it's an issue. Stated that quite explicitly in reviewing the Moderna vaccine. And then all these COVID vaccines expose the body to that same shaped spike protein. So you would expect all of them to perform similarly from a VERD perspective. And further, when you look at the actual data from the animal studies, you actually see faster viral clearance at very small doses, both in monkeys and mice, looking at both SARS-CoV-2, which is non-fatal, and also the very similar MERS disease, which is fatal in mice. And last but not least is mutations. Unvaccinated people allow viruses to replicate and mutate. 3 doses at 10 micrograms provides more protection than 2 at 100 micrograms. Developing a new vaccine takes 2 days. The bottleneck is regulatory approval and manufacturing capacity to get that vaccine into somebody's arms. And then vaccines, as you saw in the last slide, show decreased viral replications, even at really low doses, which results in less mutation, less disease, less transmission. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you watching this.